look at that! Real easy when you could just find the clock at the beginning of the video. Anyway, hello folks. I have been on the road for 2 weeks now, and we're almost done with our New England Excursion tour. We have a few more places to go to, and as of today, we have gone to our 17th state, Vermont, the Green Mountain State. 17 states. Unbelievable. So on our tour through New England, we have now covered every state except for Massachusetts. And if you've seen earlier videos in this series, you would know why, obviously. But anyway, let's have some fun on our journey today through Vermont. Before I delve deeper into this town, this city that we're in, let me introduce to you a little bit about Vermont. So Vermont is a state in Upper New England. It borders New York, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts to the south. So we're very close to all three of those adjacent states. Look at that clock a little closer. But yeah, Vermont is an isolated state. So yeah, when you hear Vermont, what do you think about? You probably think of those beautiful green mountainscapes, as was in that beginning montage. What else do you think about Vermont? Probably Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Do you think of hipsters just roaming about the streets of the different cities in Vermont? Notoriously in Burlington up there near Lake Champlain. And I think of Vermont, I don't really think about a traditional New England state. It seems like the oddball in that group of New England states. The culture, yeah, it has some New England quirks, but it has some of its own quirks. People here in Vermont are a lot more free-spirited, I guess. Huh. Guess it's a good time to introduce you to where we are. Garlic Town, USA, Bennington, Vermont. As Vermont is also very famous for its ice cream, I probably gotta go back there for some nice original Vermont ice cream. But let's go over here so I can talk a little bit more about Bennington, Vermont. In order to explain the town of Bennington real well, I have to really talk about the towns and cities of Vermont as a whole. There are no real big cities in Vermont. Vermont's a very small and generally isolated state. The largest city, Burlington, is only a little bit more than 40,000 people. That's their largest city. So when you think of all the other cities, more like large towns, you're gonna have these small towns and cities all over, and not really that many. A lot of places in Vermont are just these rural communities. So this is, I guess, what you would call southwestern Vermont's cultural capital, because around here, we're very close to the New York state border. We're kind of close to the Massachusetts state border, and we're just a little bit away from the famous Green Mountain National Forest. If you look in the distance behind those buildings, those nice old-fashioned brick buildings, you can see a little bit of those mountains that I'm talking about. After you get rid of all the buildings and just drive a little, you can really see this great scenic view of the mountainscapes and the farms along this great state. Most towns and cities in Vermont are very, very old, dating back to late 1700s, early 1800s. The architectural design of this city, Bennington, is pretty emblematic of the time in which it was built. Brick buildings, and you have these old lights. That clock that I still can't get over, that's pretty old too. So the great thing about Bennington is that it holds both that old small town charm, but it's very eccentric at the same time. I mean, you have this panther or something that's painted. You wouldn't see that in just any old boring city. But let's make one thing clear, this is a very small city or town. I still don't know what to call this place. Now, I need some good old local Vermont ice cream. Oh my gosh, that is a chocolate mousse. So because this is a rainy day, I gotta eat this really fast. I got this chocolate hazelnut flavor. To me it looks like a regular chocolate, but their actual chocolate flavor looked like a dark chocolate flavor. I don't know. Either way, I'm gonna enjoy this, and I'm gonna enjoy this quickly because this is going to melt soon. I'll see you in a second with some stellar ice cream. I don't know, there's something about the taste where you can tell that it's not mass-produced in a factory, but rather locally made in the shop or something. So here's to that. And being that there are so many dairy farms in the state of Vermont, it's sort of a no-brainer that they would have so many ice cream shops around the state. Now that was a cute little downtown, wasn't it? But if you can believe it, that is the newest part of Bennington, as old as that was. Here at Old Bennington, you can find more of the first things that were laid out in the town of Bennington. And, well, what's behind me? Although it looks like maybe a colonial rough draft of the Washington Monument, I assure you, it's not. This is an ode to the legacy of this area of Bennington. Back during the Revolutionary War, the war that all American school children are taught about first. That was our gateway to becoming a country of our own, away from the British. This war lasted for years, and originally the Americans were losing. And of course, naturally, it was against the biggest military power of the world at that time. But around here, in between Vermont and upstate New York, there was this Battle of Bennington. I can't really tell you what happened during this battle in terms of casualties, military strategy, all of that. But what I can tell you is that this is considered to be part of the turning point of the Revolutionary War, where we finally got our ground to fight the British and eventually win this War of Independence. And thus, as a dedication to the lives lost, the bravery of the militia, and all the other stuff that goes along with war and battles, this giant obelisk behind us stands proud and tall. And it's quite a large structure. It may not seem like that on the video, but it is quite a ways up. The best part about this monument is that you can go inside and go to the top and see a great view of the surrounding area in which the battle was fought. On a clear and sunny day, one might be able to see 20-25 miles into the distance, but I guess we weren't so lucky today on this quite bad weather day. It's raining, it's windy, and, well, there's a hurricane about to approach us. This is the first hurricane in 30 years that's coming up to New England, and of course we just happen to be here on the coverage project right at this location on the time that the hurricane comes on. So tonight it's gonna be really bad for me at the campground, but that's what adventure is. So now that we have visited the tallest building in Vermont, I say we go someplace where we can at least be a little bit safe from the rain, hopefully. Oh my goodness, this Vermont rain is just dreadful. Luckily we're in here though. Isn't this just wonderful? with all this rain surrounding us, just to be all dry, unscathed from the rain. Now where are we? We have a few more videos in this trip before it ends, but we cannot leave New England without checking out one of the most important, iconic things about New England. This is a covered bridge. Most bridges today, you have either a suspension bridge or a drawbridge or whatever thing, but it's usually made out of metal, and it's a lot more supportive of heavy weight, such as cars and trucks and stuff. Now I do gotta be careful because cars are allowed to come through this thing, but it's a single lane. But originally these covered bridges in New England were made for, let's say, horse and carriages before the cars showed up. And this harkens back to a much simpler time in New England's history, when a lot of the things were made out of wood with nothing more than simple hand tools. So obviously, as a result of things being more mechanized and different ways of building things, covered bridges like these are discontinued. You'll only find several, thank goodness there are several in the first place, covered bridges left, and they're most concentrated in this New England area, states like Vermont, New Hampshire, a little bit of Massachusetts. Travel enthusiasts, they don't agree on everything, and that's a good thing. When there's a lot of discussion, you can figure out where are the best places for people to go to based on their own interests. And covered bridges are very disputed within travel enthusiast communities because some people on one camp say it's just a bridge. What more is there to do? And other people are saying, well, it's a historic relic. Why wouldn't you want to go someplace that is, one, discontinued, two, an iconic relic of American history? And I think I'm more in that camp. So that's why I brought you here to this covered bridge here in the outskirts of Bennington, Vermont. Well, there you have it, everyone. Bennington, Vermont. I can't believe we have finally come to Vermont. I've never been to this state. I've never been to most of New England, so through this whole trip I'm glad we can cover all these different states. Sadly though, still waiting on Massachusetts. Maybe that's gonna be saved for another trip. Maybe whenever Massachusetts decides to not price gouge out-of-state campers. You know, I wish this day was a bit longer. There's a couple more places in Bennington, Vermont, such as the Bennington Museum, that I wish we could have gone to today, but I'm a bit late to a meeting with none other than Hurricane Henry. So I better get going and prepare, because I don't want to just be standing right here and, you know, die, have the winds pick me up from the ground. So I better wrap it up, this video right now. So yeah, talking to you all, wrapping this video up from the Henry Bridge in Bennington, Vermont on this dreadfully rainy day. More travels to come. I will see you at the next location.